May 30th, 2018. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein here with Raj Giri. Chris Featherstone joining us shortly. Going to talk about SmackDown Live, cover some of the news happening this week, what Seth Rollins said about The Undertaker and his retirement, Io Shirai heading to the WWE, CM Punk's trial, and John Cena says he has found the one, and it's not Nikki Bella. All that and more coming up on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Raj, how's it going this morning?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. SmackDown last night. Once again, the broken record. SmackDown, man, what a tight show. Doesn't that go by fast?
It was good. You know, when Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe aren't involved in the best match on the show, that tells you something, right?
Yeah.
So it was awesome. I don't know if you got to see 205 Live, but Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy was insane. I heard. Yeah, it was awesome. So really strong night as far as match quality goes.
Yeah, it's just amazing, man. What a difference a day makes. Last night, SmackDown, it was interesting that it opened up with Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe. Big Cass interrupting that and making it seem like that match was going to be off, only to be turned into a triple threat later in the evening. But yeah, it was unpredictable. I mean, I didn't see that exact outcome happening. I thought it was a good match, and there was just a lot of stuff last night. Really tightly packed show, all in all. Yeah,
I thought it was definitely a strong show.
God, who would have thought 2 months ago?
I won't say strong show. It was easy to watch. Again, nothing big happening. Samoa Joe qualified, but outside of that, it wasn't a very momentous show, but it was easy to watch.
Yeah. Who would have thought 2 months ago? If on this podcast, I said, in 2 months, Asuka is going to have a competitive match with Mandy Rose, and it's going to go for multiple segments.
Yeah. And Mandy Rose has improved a ton, so she's a future star.
No, absolutely. Chris, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Getting better day by day.
Good, man. Good to hear it. So what'd you think of SmackDown last night?
Solid. Nothing spectacular, but it's usually a kind of a dull season, a little bit after Mania going into SummerSlam. So I wasn't expecting much, and it didn't exceed my expectations, but I wasn't underwhelmed either. So it was just kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, I think though, compared to Raw every week, there's just something about it. I feel
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like we barely make it to the finish line of most Monday Night Raws, and SmackDown just comes out of the gate with that higher energy.
I think also that 2 hours is such a huge difference, because could you imagine if at the 2 hour mark you're like, there's still another hour to go, and then you're putting in all the extra filler. So the 2 hours is a huge advantage for SmackDown.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. So last night, Samoa Joe coming out there talking like a preacher. Giving a biblical promo. Been a while since we've heard one of those on Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan coming out and interrupting him. And then right when they go face to face, start to get into it, out comes Big Cass saying that their match is off for later in the night. Oh, and that, by the way, he's been medically cleared after selling that limp on the way out there. How did you think each gentleman fared, Chris, in that promo segment last night?
It's interesting because I knew that Joe was a good promo work. He was good. He was a good promo worker.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what it is about this year that made me just like really notice him. I mean, he's really good, and I don't know what it was. Maybe he looked at some tapes or something like that, because I remember his lockdown feud with Kurt Angle back in the day, like 06 for TNA. And he wasn't this good when he was cutting promos in TNA. He was a little bit more like grunny, like, yeah, I'm gonna get you. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't it wasn't the ebbs and flows. And I've talked to many wrestlers, and they when cutting promos, I think Matt may have said this before in this podcast, if I'm not mistaken. He's Samoa Joe's that guy. He'll kind of comment a little bit, and then he'll strike it when he wants you to notice something. He'll do it, and he'll say it that way. And he's really, his cadences are very noticeable this year. That, I mean, he's one of the best promo workers to me. He's one of the best in WWE right now. He knows how to. And here's another thing. And I talked about this last week about the old school heel, the traditional heel. Joe knows how to flip a crowd. He's a good heel, and he did that last night. You know, you get the Joe coming down the ring, but as soon as he gets on that mic, he knows how to make him boo, and that's what I highly respect.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I agree 100%, Chris, that when he was in TNA, I always thought, you know, he's good on the mic. He can handle himself on the mic, but nothing special. And yes, he has really turned it around. And, you know, that promo last night, I think I wrote this on Twitter. I think that if the majority of the roster was given that promo on a sheet to recite, it would have been awful. But he you know, performed it perfect. It reminded me of Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction, like that kind of delivery. And I thought he was awesome. I think Samoa Joe might be the best promo in the company right now. I mean, John Cena hasn't been motivated. You know, when Cena's on, I think he's the best. But with what they got right now, I think Samoa Joe's there, and I think Daniel Bryan's the best babyface promo. And so their interaction, I thought, was great. And Daniel Bryan seemed totally believable. It's not like I hate dogging on AJ Styles, but his promo when he's like, "Man, I'm mad," and Nakamura's more dangerous than ever. It was just unconvincing. Whereas Bryan, when he's out there, you believe what he's saying. You believe, like, you know, he's pissed that Samoa Joe mentioned his family. And I thought it was great. I just wish this was used for something bigger as opposed to a throwaway match on SmackDown.
Did you guys see the tweet? I forget the former writer's name, but he was leaking stuff online with the alias Falcon Arrow 2 years ago.
James McKenna.
Yeah, his tweet last night saying that in 2015, before the Tyson Kidd accident, there was talk that Samoa Joe was going to get called up for Money in the Bank and potentially win the whole thing.
It's I mean, who knows? I'm sure there's, you know, when you got 30 writers, I'm sure there's tons of ideas always being pitched around. Yeah, I think it'd be weird for them to give someone, especially someone just kind of like with that TNA, you know, stigma.
Stench is the word.
Yeah, such a big push right off the gate. I mean, you kind of see like how long they've taken with, you know, what they've done with Rude, and even AJ, you know, floundered for a little bit before he got a solid push. So I'd be surprised if, you know, Joe would have come in and won Money in the Bank right off the bat.
And I'm glad he didn't, because he's evolved so much since he's started with WWE, even the past few years. Because still, I mean, even when he was feuding with Finn Balor and Nakamura in NXT, I still didn't notice that his promo was this good. So I still think, you know, with some time, you know, he's 39 now, or be 39. You know, he's toward the latter part of his career. He's really matured just within his few years in WWE. And I think probably one of the most pivotal moments was last July. I think that was kind of his coming out party when he went against Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. That was a fantastic match, and I think that really helped him. And so things like that, to me, would make Joe a much more credible champion now than if you just hot shot an idea and just give it to him back then.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought Cass's promo last night, Big Cass is yet to give the promo that's made me fall in love with Big Cass as a single star.
He knows how to draw heat, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. He did get a ton of heat. He just doesn't sound as convincing. Like, it went from seeing like an organic feud between two, well, not organic, because what Samoa Joe was saying is not typically what you say like when you're about to get in a fight, you know, but he delivered it so strong that you're into it, right? Yeah. And Daniel Bryan's response was great. Cass, when he came out, it didn't seem as believable. He seemed like he was reading his lines. He was doing a fine job at reading his lines, but it didn't seem as believable. But
you don't care for the shrimp in the blimp part, you know?
I think anytime you put those labels on your top stars, it resonates with fans, you know, it kind of sticks, you know, when Jinder was talking about Shinsuke making the goofy faces, I think Shinsuke lost a lot of heat because people were like, oh yeah, they are kind of funny, as opposed to being different and strange. And when you start tagging these things like a blimp on Samoa Joe and drawing that out, as opposed to this badass that, you know, destroys people, it resonates because he is not in the, you know, best physical shape. Yeah, I mean, he's in good physical shape. He's just naturally a big guy.
Yeah. So he calls him Oh, go Chris.
Chris Jericho said this a while ago, and Don Callis said it recently as well, and credited Jericho for it. He said, when you cut a promo, you never trash, you never bury your opponent. Meaning, like, you never, if you're a heel, you never say, like, okay, if I'm going against Raj, it's Chris against Raj, and Raj is the babyface, and I'm like, you know what, Raj, you're an idiot, and you absolutely stink as a wrestler, and you have no popularity, right? And so if I beat you at the pay-per-view, I was right. So there's nothing about you that people want to see anymore because I just buried you and I just beat you to solidify that. And so you don't do that when you cut promos. And I mean, Kaz isn't mature enough to know that, but I think he should.
I don't know. Triple H used to do that all the time.
Yeah, well, he's Triple H, Raj. That's a whole different story.
Yeah. Could you imagine back in the day if Andre the Giant, everyone's just saying, "Hey, man, you're fat, you're slow, you can't move that well." Like you don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you. So, Big Cass calls Daniel and Samoa Joe the shrimp and the blimp. I'm speculating that the fight was at least 5 minutes and it got very heated backstage between Vince, Road Dogg, and the creative team of does Samoa Joe say to Big Cass, does that make you the gimp? And people were like, no, that's offensive. They had to talk Vince out of it. It was probably a very heated. It was so obvious. I was shocked they didn't go there. A rare move of restraint by WWE creative.
Was bad enough.
Yeah. Oh, it was just. And then they repeated it later in the night on commentary. They were just, that's when you could tell that they've got something they're so proud of. The commentary like shouts it out later in the match.
Yeah, sadly.
It was, man.
Other than that, it was a good opening segment. You knew where I was headed. You knew Cass was going to get inserted. Right. I thought that meant Cass was taking the fall.
Absolutely.
As opposed to beating Bryan or Joe. But that's not what happened. But
yep.
I got a theory about that I talked about on my show last night, but maybe we'll get to it.
All right.
Yeah, okay, cool, man. Backstage from that, Cass said the match was off. They talked to Paige. They put the match back on, making it a triple threat. And then we got Schinsky Nakamura versus Ty Dillinger.
Real quick, they showed backstage Shinsuke walking around with the numbers.
Yes.
Throwing them to the side. That to me is just like, it's so mid-card. It's not what a top heel should be doing. That visual, it's just not, you wouldn't see Brock Lesnar doing that. You wouldn't see Braun Strowman. A top guy should not be doing kiddie stuff like that. That's a mid-card feud. That's a 205 Live feud. That's not, Drew Gulak should be doing that, not Shinsuke.
I would love to see Brock Lesnar backstage. Actually, I want Brock Lesnar versus Big E just so we get New Day throwing pancakes at Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Just to subject him.
There was a part of me that liked that, though. I thought it was funny. I mean, you're right as far as it doesn't, it doesn't radiate main event, but, it's Nakamura at this time is his whole thing is to get under people's skin, and I think that was a funny way to get underneath people's skin. It wasn't main event, but at the same time, I think that all just kind of further colors, Nakamura's character to me. That's how I looked at it.
I think it would have been much more effective to just have him beat the hell out of Ty Dillinger. Keep counting 8, get Ty Dillinger up, kick him down again. Count 8, get him up, kick him down. Like stuff like that generates more top level heel heat than throwing signs in the back.
Yeah, and that match was more competitive than you'd think. I mean, good for Ty, but this did not make Nakamura
seem like a threat.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with the Asuka match, right? I mean, if you're trying to rebuild somebody back up, longer matches, I don't think really accomplished that.
And they just got time to kill.
Yeah.
And I think I think part of it, granted the agents kind of, tell them what to do, but I'm sure Nakamura wanted to give Ty more than what they were probably told to.
I would hope so.
With their time in NXT and everything.
Yeah. What did you think of the match itself, Chris?
Decent match. I mean, you guys are true. I mean, I think it went a little bit too far, but I don't know. I got a soft spot for Ty Dillinger for some reason. It's one of my heart goes out to the people who organically get over, but WWE still damper. You know what I mean? Like the Zack Ryders of this world when he was super over. Ty Dillinger, the perfect 10 gimmick, he makes it work, and he makes it work very well. He got one of the biggest pops at the Royal Rumble when he debuted, because coming out at number 10. And then the next year, didn't he get beat up? When he's supposed to be the 10th entrant, and he got beat up in the backstage or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
Sami Zayn.
Yeah, so it's it's like, man, it's I don't know. I got a soft spot for WWE. I mean, I don't like Rusev Day as far as just because I think he's a heel, but if he was a face and WWE stomped on that too, I would have a soft spot for that too. I just think if you are given a gimmick and you make it work, I think you should be awarded for that. And I think WWE feels the contrary for many wrestlers, and Ty Dillinger is definitely one of them.
Well, I think they also recognize a lot of times when it's someone that's over or someone that's doing a thing that's over. Like Scotty 2 Hotty was not a main event talent.
But the Worm was over.
The Worm was super over. But that doesn't mean you push him at the level of The Rock or Steve Austin. But that doesn't mean you kill the Worm either. And that's what I'm saying. Trying to kill the 10.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Ty Dillinger should be the next WWE champion by any stretch.
Right.
What I am saying is that he shouldn't lose 99 out of 100 matches.
Right.
I mean, and that's what he does.
Yeah, and I think, but in this case, with where Ty is, it should have been a complete squash.
Yeah. Although, one thing I'll say about Ty is that he had the confidence out there. Sometimes when you see Kurt Hawkins make a reemergence or Mike Kanellis or someone like that, and you can almost see behind their eyes that look of like, holy crap, like, what am I doing here? Ty looks 100% confident, owns it, still manages, I think, to carry himself like a star, even though you go months without seeing him on TV.
Even though I think with his new haircut, I think he's looking less like a star.
Yeah, that should be a listicle, Raj, on Wrestling Inc., ranking the looks of the top 10 looks of Ty Dillinger.
Yeah. It looks like he's getting lazy and just doesn't want to deal with it anymore.
Hey, shaving those lines into his head, that's not easy, man.
Yeah.
Complicated process. Yeah, so that match last night, I mean, good for Ty getting TV time. Shinsuke, I thought that was interesting, and then him doing the 10 count, thought was cool. It's the danger of dragging on Shinsuke versus AJ this long, right? Is how do you keep people invested in both of these guys on a feud that really has never really gotten into fifth gear?
Well, we've seen the match 4 times now, right?
Yeah.
Already. So, and each time it's gotten better. It's just when 2 of them have ended with crap finishes, I think it just kind of took so much steam out. If they're having classics every time with, and trading victories or something like that, like kind of like, Flair and Steamboat, and you went that route, that's one thing. But just trading nut shots and when you're 2 of the most talented wrestlers in the company, and that's what the storyline is. It's not easy to get excited about.
Yeah, I agree.
Then we got the AJ promo after talking about the last man standing stipulation for their match of Money in the Bank. Okay, so Raj, was this another in the list of sort of the frustrating, lackluster AJ Styles promos?
I thought so. I mean, what'd you guys think?
I don't know. I love AJ Styles as a competitor. I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of the best in the world, but it's like, I don't know. My stock in AJ Styles, because of WWE creative, has gone down so substantially nowadays that there's nothing that he really can do minus an absence and a return that would make me excited anymore. So, any promo that he does nowadays just falls right into that, unfortunately. And again, it's unfortunate for AJ because he's fantastic, but there's nothing that he does nowadays that excites me. And I think WWE has really done a terrible job at protecting their champion, especially since Brock Lesnar's gone, and he's been gone for 2 months. He'll be gone for, reportedly 3 months before he wrestles again. So all the weight has to be on AJ and Seth. Seth is doing fantastic, but they're not protecting AJ one bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed to have more swagger and stuff. Again, a lot of this is WWE not knowing how to write for baby faces, but a lot of it is, what the stuff they write for AJ, I think, is just corny and it's just not good. And like we again compared to what Bryan said earlier, and the way Bryan delivered it, it seemed very real. Whereas AJ, he just seems like he's going through the motions. And I'm the same way. If I wasn't doing this podcast, I kind of have a blind spot for that. Like I just kind of ignore it because he is so good in the ring. But then again, he's not protected in the ring either. He hasn't. I can't remember the last time he won a match on SmackDown. And he's the WWE champion. He's probably won maybe 5 times this year on SmackDown, if that. It's usually he loses on SmackDown, then wins on pay-per-view. Right. And it's just never really left looking strong.
They've never really given him a good angle, though. I mean, I thought with Cena, his, I need to prove that I'm here and I'm the best and earn my place finally atop the WWE. I thought that was a good motivation that they gave him.
Yeah, I think they just don't see him like they see as Seth Rollins, right?
Yeah.
You see what the job they're doing with Seth Rollins. They could easily be doing that with AJ. Just going out, winning fantastic matches. Seth isn't cutting a bunch of promos either. When's the last time he was in the ring cutting a 15-minute promo? He doesn't. But
that's the reason why.
The way they're booking him in the ring, he's getting over and over, and he's being booked strong, and he's winning, and he's coming out on top, and fans are behind him. With AJ, when he's on TV, he loses. He's constantly getting, someone's getting the better of him. Shinsuke's always nailing him in the nuts, and then he cuts these promos, and I don't know. I just think they could be doing so much more with him.
But his reactions, I think, are where it's at with AJ Styles. Like if his promos and actions are like, maybe a 6 or a 7 and again, this is the material. It's not a reflection on AJ. I think AJ's reactions to things are always a 9 or a 10. You go back to the match when he was in his feud with Ambrose and James Ellsworth and the comedy of it. I mean, AJ was very good at selling that with Cena. He was very good at selling that. I feel that his reaction is good. But to your point about Seth, I think that's why Seth isn't the guy in their eyes. I mean, because Roman still carries a better promo than Seth Rollins does.
That's arguable.
I think so. Seth is not strong at all to me. I don't think.
I think Roman looks like more of a star, and that's why he's their guy. I don't think he's a stronger promo. I think promo-wise, they're probably almost equal. Seth, when he was a heel, again, this is the same thing, just writing better for heels. Seth was, could carry a 15-minute segment easy, back in the day when
he did every week.
Right. He was doing it every week, and he got tons of heat, and he was pulling it off great. As a babyface, he does. It's like he doesn't have as much to say. And, but yeah, I think the Roman stuff is more the look as opposed to the promo ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Seth is part of it is that Seth a lot of times he goes up in that almost nasal, and I say this is a guy that does this as well. Seth goes up in that like nasal register sometimes when he starts talking, and I feel that for Vince has got to be a killer.
He needs to add a little more bass in his voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely think Vince McMahon.
Oh, sure.
That's a big deal for him. And with Roman is like Mr. like husky voice all the time.
Right. Yeah. He comes across as the cool guy, the guy's guy. Seth, Seth kind of does too, but not as much for sure. But to that point, the way they're booking Seth is to his strengths, and it's working. And
Seth is the biggest star. I think he's the biggest babyface star on Raw right now by far.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I think it's Seth, and AJ still is, even though we're crapping about how bad some of his promos are. Him and Daniel Bryan get similar reactions, night after night. I mean, granted, Daniel Bryan gets the yes chance, but outside the yes chance, it's similar.
Yeah. And Burn It Down, I think, has been this year. Burn It Down has gotten consistently the biggest pops.
Yeah, I think WWE really plays to Seth Rollins' strengths. I didn't enjoy Rollins' promos as a heel. He did draw heat, which was successful, but just really monotonous. He'll kind of have, like you said, a nasally kind of, Triple H, and I'm gonna, and it just kind of stays there. You know what I mean? Like there's no up or down. It's just, and it's just
20 years by the time Seth Rollins gives his Hall of Fame speech, it's gonna sound like Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes, yes. And I think taking him off the mic so much, as a babyface really helps because Rollins, when he was in ROH, he was really over as that underdog babyface when he was Tyler Black, and I think now it's almost mirrored as far as how he got over in ROH as a babyface, not saying too much. Fans love it when people can wrestle. They're waiting for that. They have about 20 "This is awesome" chants in their pocket every show that they're waiting to just throw out. And so Seth Rollins is he's the love child of the marquee "This is awesome" crowd. I mean, they love him, and that's what he's doing. He's doing it very well.
So last night, dance off on SmackDown.
This is my favorite segment.
I know.
Don't say anything.
This was better than the barbecue.
Yeah, this
it was
actually pretty good.
It was. That is true.
Rusev and Aiden come out to hype Lana. Man, this is, with everything except actual wrestling ability, Lana looks like $1 million. Everything she does. I thought her entrance, all of it, her poise was great.
Yeah. I mean,
dancing was great.
She carries herself like a star. I thought both her and Naomi were really good in this segment.
This was fantastic.
Even the little turn at the end. Even though I hated that they shook hands, they're supposed to be feuding, and then
they did the kid and play, and that brings everyone together.
They did the kid and play. Yes, I marked out inside for that.
I like that too. Yeah. That was the one dance I knew growing up. That and the moonwalk.
Yes. and then when they grabbed hands and they jumped and did the whole turn. That solidified it for me. That is the official kid and play dance right there. But I mean, I think this was just filler. I think Lana. I think Lana gets back into that confusing thing. People want to cheer her, but WWE's booking her as a heel, so it's just like another conundrum, just like Rusev. And I don't know.
They're forcing the heel aspect down people's throats when fans want to cheer them.
Yeah, and I think that hurts the character. I really do. I mean, I think it really. I mean, of course, you don't want to book for the crowd all the time, but at the same time, like when you see something working, I mean, you got to roll with it. I think I doubt that Daniel Bryan was christened to be the star, and he's even said it before. He said the whole B+ player, crowd going bananas over him, that really kind of threw a wrench in the main event because it was originally supposed to be Batista and Randy Orton, which would have stunk up WrestleMania 30.
Oh Jesus!
But I think because of the fan base, it worked. Those cases it worked, and I think when something gets really high up there that you really can't afford to not turn, you got to go with them. When Chris Jericho first started, he was a heel for a few months. He was getting over so much that they turned him babyface. And I think you got to.
They were burying Chris Jericho for a while before they turned him.
Yeah, but he was still a heel, though. I mean, but he was still getting cheered. He was getting cheered enough that they went over to babyface. But he was feuding with Road Dogg and X-Pac at that time when he was a heel. So,
and then he was relegated to Heat for a while. Then he got in the feud with China and the co-champions and
Bob Holly.
Right, yeah. So I mean, he was struggling there for a while. The DX did not like him. But we're going off topic. But yeah, I agree. I think if the fans are into it, what's the point? Why try so hard to keep them as heels when the fans are into it? But Lana, I don't know what you do with her, because if you can't wrestle a long match, and that's part of being a wrestler, and she's super over. I mean, you keep her as part of the act and I guess work tag matches, maybe. I don't know.
That's what they're doing next week. We're going to have a mixed tag match with Rusev, Aiden English, and Lana versus the Usos and Naomi. I'm glad that this gives all of these people something to do on TV in a prominent spot that allows the crowd to, that paid money, that wants to see them, to appreciate them and showcase their talents in some form. It's interesting. I saw in the chat, Mandy and other people were saying this last night. It was sort of this debate being like, oh, is this too much of a throwback to the Divas era and having women do a dance off? But I saw last night more heated debates, given Naomi and Lana's backgrounds as professional dancers, more heated debates about who would actually win in a shoot dance off than I see about people talking about any other matchup that was on SmackDown last night.
Plus, back in the day, they didn't really do the dance-offs. They did the bikini, bikini contests and stuff like that.
So it was like, now we're going to have a contest to see who can give Vince a better lap dance.
Right.
It was, it was much more
provocative
of an angle.
Yeah. And so, and they've done this. I think they've done this with guys too. I feel like I remember, there was a while there at all the house shows they were doing dance-offs with
Santino was a part of a dance-off.
Yeah, and I think R-Truth they had him before. But anyway, it was
Could you imagine now if they were like AJ Shinsuke, there's only one way to settle this, guys. Like dance-off segment. I think
I'm sure they have this bag of tricks of how to kill time when they need to, when they need to just, especially the weeks like Memorial Day, like this week.
Yes, they went to food fight and dance off.
Food fight, dance off. I mean, you got 2 of the 10 that they always do.
I miss the rap battles. Whatever happened to the rap battles?
I think the last rap battle happened to the rap battles.
No, the last rap battle was awesome.
Yeah, with Usos and New Day.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I miss the old school, the Chain Gang Cena versus Rikishi rap battles.
Yeah, or Big Show.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Oh man. So hey, you know what? For right now, this is as good a build as any to Women's Money in the Bank. Give Lana and Naomi something to do.
I thought the fans popped more for Naomi, but they both got loud pops when they were done.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they're both stars, and I think in the women's division, given how poorly SmackDown has handled their women's division with the multi-women tags, lack of storylines. I mean, this is a case where I think they've both gotten over as stars, sort of despite the unique structure of the show and the way they mismanage the women.
Yeah, Mandy in the chat saying how she hates all the dance-off segments, men or women. It just diminishes the product to her. I kind of agree with that. I think overall, I didn't think this was as bad as the barbecue, but it does make it makes their feud seem less serious.
Yeah. But I feel like wrestling has always had, I mean, the WWE has always had that goofy streak in it going back as far as I can remember.
Yeah. But it's always with people that you don't take seriously.
That's true. Yeah. So we shall see. I was gonna say, and pivoting to serious. No, we saw a segment backstage at the bar throwing pancakes at a blindfolded Miz, who is fending them off with surprising accuracy in preparation for their match, the Bar and the Miz versus the New Day. Oh man, Chris, is this whole configuration, this whole feud doing anything for you? This match last night
in the ring? Oh, this is one of the matches of the year to me. I think this was absolutely phenomenal match. This is one of the times that I do agree with the crowd chanting "This is awesome."
Yeah,
because it was great. I mean, the New Day can go. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why they're still considered to be one of the top acts, because all 3 of those members of the New Day can go, and to blend them in together, it's amazing to me. And I think I love watching New Day in the ring, and I think they have fantastic dance partners by the Bar and the Miz, 3 very good workers. And when they was against the Usos, again, fantastic in the ring. And I think they bring, the New Day is so good to me that their characters just hilarious to me, but I think their work really helped them as baby faces, because usually the baby faces are one who does most of the work in the ring. And I think that they do a fantastic job keeping the crowd just glued to the match. I think they're only one of just a few people who can really keep the crowd glued to the match the whole time.
I thought this match, earlier when I said that Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe in a match, and it wasn't the match of the night, and that's because I thought this was the match of the night by far. The crowd was into it. They were hot. I thought it was great. The only thing is a little predictable that Big E got pinned by Miz last week, so Big E just pins the Miz this week. But outside of that, I thought it was awesome. I think Miz has really improved greatly this year. He didn't seem out of place with these guys, and I thought I thought the whole match was just great.
Keeping it interesting, at least. I think the problem is, though, they run it into the ground with these configurations, and it's like, where do you go from here?
Yeah, when they announced it, I didn't think anything much of it. You know, like it's like, there's not much of a story outside of they got attacked last week, but once it started, once it really got going, and it was an awesome match. But I agree, I'd like to see more of a story with these guys, especially with the New Day, they've been funny, they've been entertaining, but they haven't been a really good story. I guess they had it with the Usos. They had a good feud, not necessarily a good story, but
Wyatt family was a good story too. Xavier was scared of just the antics of Bray Wyatt. It
never went anywhere.
It wasn't good. It was still a story, but it went to the compound. So yeah, but the story was Xavier was scared of just the antics of Bray, and there was something that was with that. But at least the matches were decent.
Yeah.
You think catering has to make all those pancakes every week?
Sadly enough, I was wondering that. Like, do they go out and order them, or do they make them in the back?
It's a lot of pancake. Maybe it's like the frozen kind or something. I don't know. But these are the thoughts you think.
It's not hard to do.
Yes, go on forever. So Big E hit the big ending on The Miz for the pin. Oh, and by the way, on the dance-off, there was not a declared winner, but Lana turned on Naomi at the end and hit her with something. And yes, mixed tag next week between the group. But yeah, I would say the New Day versus the Bar and the Miz last night. If you're going to watch anything on SmackDown, I'd watch the dance off and watch that and skip around the rest. So Gallows and Anderson backstage last night talking about their title shot against the Bludgeon Brothers, which led to Bludgeon Brothers on the video monitor. How are they? I mean, Chris, what do you think? How's this as far as a build and keeping the Bludgeon Brothers relevant and at the same time making it seem like Gallows and Anderson have a chance in hell of winning this match?
No chance. But hey, so on a positive note, shout out to Carl Anderson, man. He looks in great shape. And I remember when he was wrestling in Japan, and he looks a lot different than he did in Japan, that's for sure. So that's a positive out of all this. Yeah. But nothing else is positive. This is going to be filler. Bludgeon Brothers are going to beat them, unfortunately. I hope that they don't, but I can see them beating them. It goes right back into there's nothing about the Bludgeon Brothers that most of the WWE care about. Just something that, they fit the Vince McMahon big guy role to the T. Yeah. But at the same time, there's nothing about the Bludgeon Brothers that's even make me wanting to heat. Like, to me, the Bludgeon Brothers aren't even good at drawing heat. Like, I just don't care about the Bludgeon Brothers. I don't dislike them. I just don't care. You know what I mean? So they're not even doing a good job drawing heat to me.
Yeah.
It's a broken record with me. I agree 100%. The Bludgeon Brothers do nothing, and I was enjoying the Gallows and Anderson until they cut away the Bludgeons, and then it's kind of like my eyes just kind of dazed off, and I started thinking about something else, And their promos, it's just so scripted and so monotonous. I can't get into these guys. The fans haven't really either. It's just one of those things. It's too goofy to work. It's not like the Wyatt family when they came out, that there was a believability to it. Like these guys are, from Middle Earth with their mallets. It just, it's just not entertaining. It's not believable. It's corny. And it's killing the tag division, because the Usos and the New Day was something that really, I think, propped it up. And right now, the tag division on Raw is pretty much dead, unless Dolph and Drew move into that picture. As we saw in that barbecue segment, none of those guys look like even close to top guys, sadly enough, because I think the Revival are really talented. And then the Bludgeon Brothers being tag team champions just does nothing.
Where are sanity in all of this?
I don't think it makes sense to bring them up until after Money in the Bank, because you kind of got your feud set up. They got a ton of matches now for Money in the Bank. I'm sure they're going to add Daniel Bryan and Big Cass. So I don't think you want to throw sanity into the mix until either Money in the Bank or the night after. But that's typically what they do. They do the vignettes, then they don't air them for a couple weeks, and then they come out. So.
Yeah,
that's why I think they should have done that with the Authors of Pain instead of just threw them out there. I think just it's leaving a bad taste in my mouth. I think I was talking about this on my show last night. I think the segment, the barbecue segment, would have been the perfect time for AOP to just come out and just beat everybody up. You know what I mean? Like that would have been, and they didn't even have to come on the show the following week. They just come out and they just destroy every tag team on there and just take some time away. You know what I mean? Just it's already broken to me. Like they're going to try to fix something that's broken at this point because
it's an uphill battle.
They brought him out. They took Ellering away from him, so we don't, so there's the promo part of it. They just bombed it. It just really messed it up to me.
Yeah, I mean the proper way and how they used to do it back in the day is forget about the post WrestleMania NXT pops that these guys will get. Who cares if the Authors of Pain get a big pop that night? Like what you said, do the video packages, have them work live events while the video packages are airing, work out the kinks. And so when they make their debut, they're ready to go and have something in mind as far as a program or something when they come up. So that way they don't get lost in the shuffle. I mean, think about the people that came up the night after Mania, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing? No Way Jose lost on main event. Authors of Pain are MIA. At least Andrade, Cien Almas, they did the video packages. They did the slower build.
Right.
But the people that debuted the next night, Iconics are nowhere to be seen. Yep. They lose every week. I just think they need to forget about that just quick pop and do more of a slow build and show that you have a plan for these talents as opposed to just dropping the ball on them right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think the Raw after WrestleMania crowd, I think WWE presents that to say, hey, look at all these ratings. And, we got a 2.9 instead of a 2.3 this week, because people are looking forward to the Raw after WrestleMania. But I think for the past few years, you really haven't had a long-term effect, and the post-WrestleMania crowd, I say this all the time, it is never, ever a good litmus test to judge a character or an angle. They're going to do whatever they want to do. They're going to throw beach balls. That's just the type of crowd we're working with. It comes from numerous different countries to have that moment, to have that night. But next week when you're in, Annapolis, Maryland, or Timbuktu, like that's where you draw. That's where the litmus tests come as far as people and reactions. And so I think that's what's really hurt WWE with the Raw after WrestleMania crowd. Yeah, maybe Apollo got a decent pop on the Raw after WrestleMania, but when you're back into just a regular local crowd, people are like, I don't.
Yeah, no one's really sustained. I mean, I think Enzo and Cass were the last ones that really sustained.
Yeah,
post WrestleMania pop.
Right, Enzo's super charismatic. Drew's doing fine now because he was paired with Dolph, and people know Dolph, and it kind of strengthens that act. But yeah.
So last night, Mandy Rose versus Asuka in a competitive multi-segment match. Where did this rank in terms of time? Was Mandy Rose in one of Asuka's top 5 longest singles matches?
Was it really?
I mean, I'm just asking.
No. I mean, I didn't time it. Mandy showed that she can hold her own against the top worker in the company. But this match did nothing for me. I was, you knew Asuka was winning. It went too long. It just seemed like it was killing time. I think Mandy's a future star, but I thought this match was it should have been one segment. Asuka gets the win.
Yep.
Yeah, there was not a need to make Mandy look strong in this before Asuka hit her with the Asuka lock and Rose tap for the finish. It was funny last night. Even, there are all those fan accounts on Twitter that are dedicated to wrestlers. And even one that was like Mandy Rose Fan Central. It was like, yeah, even we didn't think Mandy was going to win this one.
Yeah, I just think when you got Asuka and Charlotte and Becky Lynch and Naomi, all these talented workers, and we were getting Carmella as champ and Carmella versus Asuka and Carmella versus Mandy Rose and whatever Charlotte and Becky are doing, these tag matches. It's so watered down from where it should be.
Although I bet part of the reason they had this go long was because Carmella was on commentary and they wanted to give Carmella more time to build her feud with Asuka.
I think she didn't need that much time. It's not like she said a lot, she could have.
She says a lot of the same things.
Yeah, exactly. So it could have easily been done in one segment.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about a segment is like almost 15 minutes. It's 12 minutes. That's more than enough time. If you don't do the ring entrances, just start, bell to bell, and that's way more than enough time.
Yeah. Charlotte, Flair, and Becky Lynch were backstage watching the match. Paige came in, gave a shout out to Team PCB, and then ended up making a match for next week. Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch on SmackDown. So that'll continue their build towards Money in the Bank.
Again, it's just that having the Money in the Bank people just facing each other in different combinations.
Yep.
But I think it'll be a good match. Hopefully they give that match a lot more time,
I bet you it gets less time than Asuka versus Mandy Rose.
Maybe.
I probably won't finish clean either.
Yeah. Which is good, right? I mean, if they protect both of them. I mean, there's so much talent. There's so much talent in the women's division on SmackDown. How have they managed to just not?
That was my point. That's what I was just saying. Yeah. It could be on such another level.
Yeah. Andrade Cien Almas talking to Sin Cara backstage before Zelina Vega walks up. Unhappy. You think this is going to be the feud?
Yep. That's clearly the setup. Maybe that'll be the kickoff match at Money in the Bank. I don't see that on the main card. Or it could be just a throwaway match on next week's SmackDown. But I feel like he should be a little bit higher. But, at least it gives him a win against someone that's a name, and it doesn't rush him too quick. But ever since that guy said that Almas looks like Rusev, that's all I see.
Yeah. See, that's Raj. That's my angle too. I didn't have a problem with this whole segment whatsoever. I think it's, and again, last week we were talking about Almas being a heel. I think this is what helped him. I think this is what made him distinguished as being like, hey, I'm a bad guy. And I think Vega just kind of being that antagonist really helped as well. And Sin Cara, to me, he's a name that would be a good person to feud with for a little bit. They did that with Baron Corbin for a little bit when he was feuding with Sin Cara. And I think you don't want to rush things with Almas. I think the slow build as a heel would really work for him. And I think a name like Sin Cara will really assist with him, getting that heel heat and just really establishing his name on the roster instead of just kind of, thrusting him into some type of title picture.
But
go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, I was just saying, to me, what it signals is that they don't really see Almas as a top guy. That this, because remember when there were talks that they might bring back Del Rio. This is them throwing a bone to the.
I don't see that. I think they just need to. I think they just start. I actually think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
and to introduce him to the audience before you push him too hard, because then the fans don't buy it if you push him too hard.
Yeah.
My only concern is when you brought up the Baron Corbin Sin Cara thing, is they had Sin Cara beat Corbin early on. And I hope they don't do that kind of crap where Sin Cara is beating Andrade Cien Almas, and they're trading wins back and forth before Almas finally gets the win. So I think that'll bring him down.
Yes,
I think he just needs to be strong. He needs to, win this feud pretty handily, and then go on to bigger and better things.
Yep. Yeah, I hope they don't do. I hope they don't do trade ups either. That wouldn't help them at all.
Yeah. We shall see how they book it. So we had the Money in the Bank triple threat qualifying match last night. Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan versus Samoa Joe. This went on about a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes. This was very long.
Yeah, I mean, there was a half hour left, like when it was ready to, when all the entrances and everything were going. So it was given a lot of time. Cass didn't look completely out of place. You know what I mean? Like you would think when you have Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan and Cass, that Cass would be the odd man out. But I didn't think he was that bad in this match. I thought he was fine. Bryan and Joe, I thought this match was fine. It would have been a lot better if it was just Joe and Bryan. I don't know why they didn't just stick with that if they were going to go with Joe beating Bryan anyway and just have Cass, cost Bryan the match, be it, on commentary or come out or do whatever. As opposed to this, I thought it almost made Bryan weaker with the way they did it, as opposed to a clear interference from Cass that cost him the match. You know what I mean? Because Daniel Bryan had the match won, and then Joe came from behind. But I think the other way would have been better. Maybe they just didn't want to give away a strong singles match. And I applaud them for doing that too, because I think it's good to save those matches for pay-per-view.
I was really disappointed by this match. The quality of the match was good, but I don't know. I guess this is a good way to insert my Daniel Bryan theory here. So there's rumors. I don't know if it's true. Don't say I confirmed it or Wrestling Inc. But there's rumors that Daniel Bryan may have not re-signed his contract. So again, no confirmation on that. And so if it is true, there's a part of me who feels that WWE is just kind of throwing these matches to the fans and kind of saying, hey, we'll get we'll kind of ring you like a towel, every bit of you, until you make that decision to renew your contract. Because there's nothing different about Daniel Bryan anymore. And 6 weeks ago there was, WWE could have done a fantastic job of making Daniel Bryan a standout person on the roster, but there's nothing different about him. And he's lost. After being, gone for 3 years as far as an in-ring competitor, you have him lose twice in the past 6 weeks, and one by just getting choked out. To me, that's ridiculous to me. I think I think they should build Daniel Bryan better. Having him on the show every week loses his mystique, and there's nothing different about him anymore.
But that's not, I don't know. They're not jobbing him out though, like they know he's leaving. It's not like they brought back. If they were, could you imagine they'd bring back the little person dressed as him in a one-on-one match against Daniel Bryan?
Well, I'm not saying that they're jobbing him out. No, I'm not saying that they're jobbing out because they know he's leaving. I'm saying that they're kind of throwing a bunch of matches at us all in one clunk, and I don't like that. I think there should be a better storylines with Daniel Bryan. You come from one of the best storylines in WWE with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to Daniel Bryan feuding with Big Cass and then making him tap out, and then Big Cass, for some reason, he lost the match, but they're still going to continue the feud.
But they do that all the time, though. That's all their feuds.
And it's not okay.
There's I know, but that's not a... Look, I agree with you. I've been saying this from the beginning, even before any contract rumors, and I don't believe that rumor. By the way, I'm sure his contract still ends on September 1st, but I think this is how they would have done it anyway, and they haven't, they haven't done the big. They weren't going to do the big Daniel Bryan world title matches on pay-per-view this soon anyway, and so I think it's just they burn through their top matches on Raw and SmackDown all the time.
But how does that help him as a babyface, though?
No, so that's what I'm saying. No, I agree that Daniel Bryan he's been watered down. He's gone from a huge deal to just another top guy. He's just another guy. And he should be booked more special. But I think they even if he's re-signed for 5 years, he'd be in the same spot. That's just how they do it. They have so much TV that they don't like keeping guys off when it benefits them. Unless it's Brock Lesnar, they don't do the slow burn. It's just constant, you're doing the same matches over and over.
And let's not forget the biggest Daniel Bryan has ever been is when he's facing adversity. You know?
But what adversity is he facing right now?
Samoa Joe's a monster. Big Cass is a monster.
Yeah, I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it as Joe was just the guy going into the ladder match, and Daniel Bryan was going to get beat. I could easily see them having Daniel Bryan beat Joe down, in a few weeks if Joe's not put in the world title picture.
Yeah, I think they just need to do something. Look, his comeback from medical clearance, that was huge and that was great. They're past that phase of it. But look, it's like the movie Rudy. The end of the movie Rudy is fantastic, but if they put him in the game the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that, I think the crowd would just kind of be like, hey, it's the small guy on the field.
Yep. Yeah. I just think Daniel Bryan, his first singles match should have been the next pay-per-view. It shouldn't have been on TV the next night after WrestleMania. Should have been built as that. And anyway, yeah, let's people are bringing up the Fox article, so let's
talk about that. So Rupert Murdoch,
really quick overall, SmackDown solid show. I'd give it a good B minus.
Yeah,
B minus. Yeah.
All right.
Pleasant way to spend a Tuesday evening. And I heard 205 Live is great. Watch it if you didn't last night. Yeah. So Rupert Murdoch told the WWE that NBC Universal is embarrassed by your product. Yeah. And if they go with Fox, Fox is going to promote the hell out of it and even give them a talk show in a studio on Fox Sports 1. So perhaps Talking Smack will live on in some form.
Hosted by Chris Featherstone.
I can see they'll bring JBL out of retirement for this. Be like, JBL, great news, buddy. Oh man. So what do you make of this, Raj?
I think it's just, that's just negotiations. You want to bring down the other guy and put yourself over. It's nothing. Some people are saying Fox and NBC are embarrassed by it. It's not. Fox was telling NBC that Fox was telling WWE that NBC is embarrassed by it because they're not pushing it as hard as they would. I think it's good negotiations, and clearly it helped work. They got a huge deal from Fox, so good for them.
And NBC, I mean, I was thinking about this the other night. So Raj, someone tweeted us that they actually did drop their pizza. Pizza dropping is a thing. But I was thinking about this when I was watching the commercials, and I watch a lot of TV. Only on WWE programming do I see commercials that remind you not to smoke, like excessively. Like we really have to hammer it home to this audience. Commercials that tell you like, hey, if you drop your pizza, we're going to replace it. And now commercials like reminding you to wear a seatbelt, something that should be common sense to anyone that's been alive for the last 30 years. I think NBC Universal doesn't try very hard, and it's reflected a lot in the ads when you see what they think of this audience.
I mean, it's gotten more and more every year. I mean, look, for a while, WWE to an outsider was probably pretty embarrassing. Yep. Like when they're doing the lingerie pillow fights and you're having Hornswoggle running into a wall, having, people, Chavo Guerrero run into a wall.
Steve Austin crucified. Katie Vick.
Katie Vick.
I'm not saying it's not earned the WWE's reputation.
Yeah, but I think as WWE has changed their product, has gotten more PG. NBC has been pushing it more. I see the commercials a lot more throughout USA. But yeah, I agree with you, Glenn. I don't think they're throwing out the red carpet for them.
Yeah,
and like they would a UFC or someone like that for sure.
Yeah, I think the ads will be better on Fox because I think Fox will treat it as more of a priority, court bigger advertisers. I think NBC Universal probably, I'm just going to guess that out of all I bet you it costs more to buy an ad on an episode of Shooter or Chris Lee Knows Best than it does to buy an ad during Raw or SmackDown.
I don't think that's going to change because it's not Fox or USA. It's what people are willing to pay, right? And so people are only willing to pay a certain amount for WWE because they, the most, all the surveys they show the average income of like a wrestling fan being less than a football fan or a golf fan. So there's a reason why golf will get more dollars per minute than say, bowling or, NASCAR. It's just the expendable income, what advertisers think people are willing to spend. So you're not going to see BMW commercials on Raw like you would during golf, or Lexus commercials like you see during football.
Yeah, we shall see. John Cena put over the Velveteen Dream. What was the quote exactly? Something along the lines of "He could be the one."
He was asked if he'd rather face Adam Cole,
Ricochet,
or Velveteen Dream. And he put Velveteen Dream pretty strong over
pretty Star strong. Wars reference, I think.
Yeah, he said, in those Star Wars movies with the Jedi, and he says something like, "I think that is the one. I got that odd mental and great feeling about Velveteen Dream." So, yeah, I mean, getting endorsement from the top star in the company, it's pretty huge. I think he needs to stay in NXT for a little bit.
Yes,
keep working out in the ring, work out tweaks in his character. You don't want to bring him up too quick because I agree. I do see a superstar in him too.
Absolutely.
But he can't be so over the top that he's unrealistic. And I worry that could happen.
I get very leery of John Cena endorsements with up and coming stars, though. It's just he has a knack for pinning people at the wrong time in their careers, and he did it with Alex Riley, did it with Wade Barrett, did it with Rusev. He's just now recovering. Baron Corbin causing him his case and then beating him in the opener of SummerSlam. He hasn't recovered,
but he didn't endorse those guys. He wasn't privately saying he saw those guys as superstars.
Well, I thought he endorsed the Nexus, though.
No, he never did. He endorsed AJ Styles, and look at how strongly, how much it benefited AJ.
Well, he's an established talent, though.
Right. But I'm saying privately, the people that he really talked highly about, I don't think he's buried any of them.
Well, all the people all the up and comers that he's went against, I know he did put over the Nexus after the fact, though. Maybe not during, but I think he talked about he regretted the whole.
He regretted beating them.
Right at the 8-man, SummerSlam,
yeah. He had that finish change, but Cena normally he doesn't book those finishes. That's what he's told. Like Vince would built Rusev to lose to Cena. He built Bray Wyatt to lose to Cena. It wasn't like Cena saying that guy needs to lose to me.
But on the flip side of that, do you think that Cena has enough clout to say, let me put this person over?
Oh yeah. I mean, what do you mean? Like, do I think that Vince would listen if Cena said that?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where I'm going. Like, I wish that he would have, looking at people like Alex Riley and Wade Barrett, I just wish that he would have been like, let me at least put him over once. But that's what he did with Kevin Owens. He lost cleanly to him.
He put a lot of guys over one. He put over Bray Wyatt.
Rusev, lost to Rusev. He tapped to Rusev.
Yeah, he tapped to Rusev clean.
Yeah.
I think Cena. I mean, and I agree with him. He shouldn't just be randomly losing to a guy just because they're an up and comer. He shouldn't have lost to Baron Corbin. He shouldn't have lost to Alex Riley. Those guys were not on his level. It should mean something to beat him, so you actually get over. If you're just losing to everybody, then how does it elevate you to beat you? You know what I mean? If Jericho.
No, but
that's I always have with Jericho. He loses to everybody. Oh, yeah. So when someone does beat Jericho, it doesn't do anything.
I agree. Well, first of all, I totally agree with that because that's true. But what I'm saying is this: I wish that they would have better stories for the up and comer to lose against. To beat John Cena. Now, of course you're right. I mean, that's the reason why Booker T and Steve Austin, they weren't okay with Booker T wasn't okay with putting Matt Morgan over, or Steve Austin wasn't okay with putting a young Brock Lesnar over because they wanted a story behind it. And that's what I'm saying.
But plus, Steve Austin saw Brock Lesnar as a top guy.
Yeah,
so it wasn't like it was some random up and comer that Steve Austin was going to put over down the line. It was someone he saw as a superstar that could use a victory over him.
Right. But it goes back to my point. There still need to be build to it. Now we're agreeing that John Cena randomly losing to Alex Riley on a Raw makes no sense. I totally agree with that. But if you want to put someone over, you don't just build this story for at the end John Cena to win over this person. That's what I don't agree with.
It depends. You're right. If that guy is a main event talent that's could use that win and doesn't get it.
Wade
Alex
Barrett
Riley, you could do Alex. Well, no, I mean, I think Wade Barrett, it showed that he wasn't. He just got injured all the time. At that time, he wasn't ready. He was a rookie against Cena, so he definitely wasn't ready then. Yes, down the line, and Cena did lose to Barrett. Remember, he lost that career versus where he's supposed to retire,
and he came back on Raw backstage the next week.
Yeah, the next night.
Anyway. Yeah, the next night. Yeah, it was the next night. Yeah.
All right. Oh, we're starting to run a little late. Let's move ahead. But yeah, USA and Fox, kind of putting WWE against NBC.
We'll see how NBC responds for Raw. We'll see. Io Shirai heading to the WWE.
Io Shirai, yeah, she's finishing up with Stardom in a couple of weeks, and one of the most talented. They got her, Asuka, Kairi Sane. It's a great get.
Looks like Tony Storm perhaps in the future as well.
Yeah, she signed, right? She signed. It's just what they want to do with her. So they've got a ton of outstanding women talents. It's how they
too much
into the story.
Perhaps.
Well, they just don't. They're not doing anything good storyline related with them.
Even on NXT,
even Ronda Rousey, her, she's just coming out and smiling and watching Nia Jax beat up a jobber. Like Ronda Rousey, every time she's on TV, I think she seems less and less special, and she's the biggest star in the company.
Yeah. I mean, but even on NXT, there's too many women, like for that they're not using. On a regular basis. It's a problem. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see what changes and how that evolves. Seth Rollins said the Undertaker should retire. Raj, what's the scoop there?
Yeah, just during Q&A, it's shocking. You usually never hear people say that. Anything negative towards Undertaker. I mean, you saw Rusev when TMZ misquoted him, and that led to whatever it led to. We're not sure if that he got pulled from the match and then re-added, but for that reason. But the timing was uncanny. Seth Rollins asked, it was a quick Q&A. He said, should Undertaker retire? And he was respectfully, he just said yes. So
there you go.
Big applause to Seth Rollins for saying that, because I've agreed with that since probably WrestleMania 28. I think the send off against Triple H when he beat him and they were all hugging. I think that was it. I think that should have been it for Taker.
I definitely think last year when he lost the reign should have been it. It was a great send off. It was a good moment. They took forever with it. It was like a half an hour of him putting his stuff in the ring. And then to just come back for no reason.
I think they're working us. It's going to be Seth versus Taker at SummerSlam.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, if I was there at WrestleMania last year, I was one of the only one of the only people actually rooting for Roman Reigns. I think that send off last year was fantastic, but I'm one of those people who wished that the Taker never ended the streak. So that's the reason why I say 28. If he was going to put someone over like Vince wanted him to do, the kind of pass the torch, so to speak, I think Roman Reigns was a good call for me. But I wish that they would have never tainted the streak though. I think WrestleMania 30 is still a bad call.
I disagree, but we'll agree. I think it's too valuable to just let it go away.
Streak? You think it should have ended?
Yeah.
Against Lesnar or just Reigns?
Maybe against an up-and-coming talent. I think it helped a lot for Lesnar, but Lesnar hasn't passed that on yet. That's WWE's fault, not Lesnar's.
I think Lesnar is just not going to re-sign when he knows that it's going to require him losing to go out.
He doesn't care about losing. He was losing. He lost his first match when he came back to Cena.
I don't know about that, Ross, because Dean Ambrose said that he was basically not even listening to any of his ideas, and so I don't know about. As far as putting, I think he knows. I think he wants to put the right person.
Right.
Over.
Yeah. I think if he sees the person on as the right person to put over,
it should have been Braun. It could have been Samoa Joe. I thought they built that pretty credibly, but
I don't think those were the right guys. Braun could have been, but not Samoa Joe at that stage. Samoa Joe was too new and wasn't quite at that level yet.
Yeah. CM Punk's trial. What's the latest that's happening there?
Yeah, so day one started yesterday. Dr. Chris Amon, CM Punk has thought all this time that WWE is bankrolling his lawsuit, it's against CM Punk, Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana had to miss some appearances because of it. Amon's seeking $1 million in damages. Yes. Compensatory damages. About the comments that Punk made on Cabana's podcast in 2014. Apparently, according to PW Insider, Amon came off as short and curt during his testimony, and it looked like he was getting upset while discussing the situation. He was talking about the articles that were written over the podcast appearance and how bad he came off and the tweets he was getting. The jury heard the whole podcast, and the two sides are back in court today, and Amon's going to be cross-examined by the attorneys for Punk and Cabana. I guess Punk seemed to be in a decent mood. Gregory Pratt of the Chicago Tribune said he seemed visibly amused and was chuckling at some of the stuff that he said during the podcast. And and Punk was mostly serious and attentive, but there were times when he was laughing at stuff that he had said during the podcast. And it was added that Punk was wearing a nice suit and he looked good and fit ahead of his return to the Octagon next weekend in Chicago. That is insane that he is on trial when he's scheduled to fight, coming up. So
this is all over libel, right?
Yeah.
We need to get someone on this podcast. We need this podcast to be evidence in a trial. I want a jury.
Didn't you have an article, Raj, years ago that was used for evidence?
Yeah, there are some Wrestling Inc. articles used in the Gawker trial.
Yeah,
the Hulk Hogan Gawker trial.
Yeah.
So.
Winner.
Yeah.
Absurd.
We'll have to look into the evidence. They might have used some of ours for this, because I know when we reported on that Punk podcast thing, it was kind of all over.
Yeah. We shall see, man. Anything else? I feel like we're hitting a lot of stuff here.
That's it. Kind of a packed edition today.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for coming out. Chris, what do you want to plug, man?
Pancakes and Power Slams. So the second week I moved over to Wrestling Inc. YouTube. Initially I would post the videos on YouTube, but now I'm straight through YouTube. Interaction has been absolutely fantastic. So thank you everyone for supporting the show. Who did I have on last night? Alex the Pug Porto. How about that? Blast from the past. I had him on the show last night. So I have a wrestling interview every week. Look for me. I got a Sports Illustrated freelancing for them. Got a Nick Aldis piece coming up soon. So, and of course my interview. Of course my work here on Wrestling Inc. as always.
Awesome, man. Raj, what do we got coming up on the site?
The Scott Steiner interview is going up today, and it's busy. There were tons of news articles yesterday, so just keep checking it out.
Cool. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. You can find me on Twitter at Glenn Rubenstein. Live tweet along with Raw and SmackDown in addition to the official Wrestling Inc. account. And we'll see you guys back here next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.